Alright, welcome to Fool's Blade. Time to make some memories and ruin some friendships. To start, let's see who goes first. Every player rolls the d20, and the player with the highest roll takes the first turn. In the event of a tie, the two tying players resolve with a re-roll. For the rest of the game, turns continue in clockwise order around the table. Great, you go first. Lucky you. Now it's time for everyone to pick a class. Each player chooses a class card. The players whose turn is last at the table selects their class first, and the other players select classes in reverse turn order. So the player who gets to take the first turn chooses their class after all other players. Shuffle all decks before play begins. Reveal cards from the anvil deck until you reveal a handle weapon part. Pass the revealed handle to the player who goes first, then repeat for each player following turn order. Reshuffle the anvil deck. Each player, starting with the one who goes first, draws one card each from the Tavern, Anvil, and Quest deck. Setup is now complete. The first player now takes their first turn. Phase 1. At the start of each turn, all players gather in the Tavern. During this phase, draw one card from the Tavern deck. During the Tavern phase, you may play as many Tavern cards as you desire, but other players may also play them during your turn. Phase 2. Assembly. Play any combination of weapon parts from your hand or stash face up on the table to craft your weapon. By mixing and matching various weapon parts, you create your one-of-a-kind weapon. After assembly, you can also play any gear cards you might have by laying them face up on the table. This pile is your gear setup. Gear remains in play permanently unless destroyed by a card effect. Phase 3. Choose your destination. It's time to leave the Tavern. Choose one of 3 destinations. Visit the Forge, go questing, or go monster hunting. If you visit the Forge, reveal 3 cards from the Anvil deck and lay them face up on the table. Choose one card to add to your hand. You may optionally choose to reforge by discarding any weapon part from your hand and taking a second weapon part from the 3 cards shown. Any cards that are not taken are returned to the top of the Anvil deck. If you choose to go questing, simply draw 2 cards from the Quest deck and add them to your hand. The Quest deck contains various types of cards, and each will have instructions on when and how they are used. Action cards may be played at any time. Gear cards grant powerful effects once added to your gear setup, and if you're unlucky enough to draw a curse card, you must play it immediately and suffer its effects. If you decide to go monster hunting, you choose one of the 3 monster decks and reveal the top card. Immediately engage in combat with the revealed monster. Monsters and loot both have value, used to determine the victor of the game. Whenever you defeat a monster or obtain loot, put the cards face up into a pile on the table. This pile is your stash. Time for combat! When combat begins, first take note of the monster's total strength. Also make note of its strength type, more on that in a moment. This is the number that you have to beat in order to win. Some monsters also have modifiers, which will be shown next to their strength. For instance, the activated Tomb Guard has a modifier that adds +1 d12 to its strength. Roll a d12 and add the result to the monster's strength. Once you know what you're up against, add the strength of your weapon parts, part effects, set bonuses, and gear together. You may also play any number of action cards and use your class ability if you choose. If your total combined strength is greater than the monster's defeated, and you apply its win effect and add the monster to your stash. If you come up short, the monster escapes. Apply its lose effect and add the monster to its respective trash pile. Beware! Any player may play action cards at any time. That means that your opponents may choose to foil your plans and disrupt you during combat. If a battle against a monster results in a tie, you won't activate the win or loss effect. Shuffle the monster back into its monster deck. There are 4 types of strength: neutral, fire, water, and plant. Neutral strength is always effective against any monster, but will never deal bonus damage. Fire, water, and plant strength are elemental and have strengths and weaknesses. For instance, fire strength does double damage against plant monsters, but deals 0 damage against monsters with water strength. Remember, water beats fire, fire beats plant, and plant beats water. Your weapon may have multiple strength types depending on what parts you have used. Calculate total strength using this handy diagram. For example, if your weapon has 4 neutral strength and 2 fire strength, and you are fighting a water monster, the fire strength is canceled out and only the 4 neutral strength is applied. Likewise, if the same weapon was used against a plant monster, the fire strength would be doubled, counting as 4 fire strength for that encounter, for a total of 8 strength against the plant monster. Many monsters' win effects have you draw loot cards from the loot deck. These are the ultimate goal of every adventure and contain powerful legendary weapon pieces as well as magnificent treasures that contribute to your final score. Now you know how to play Fool's Blade. Turns continue on until the loot deck is exhausted. Once the loot deck is out of cards, the game's over, and you now tally the scores of each player. First, add the strength of your assembled weapon parts. Parts in your hand do not count. Only the strength of the parts count. Part effects do not contribute to the final score. Next, add the value of all the monsters that you've defeated and placed in your stash. A monster's value is shown on the gold coin icon on the card. Finally, add the value of all the loot cards you've also added in your stash. Also, add the strength of any legendary weapon part cards that you have in your stash as well. The player with the highest score wins the game! But did anyone really win if you had to betray your friends to get here? Wait, no, stop!